So, here are some tips and reminders when working on your identity project. So, first of all, you should have a list of 5 things that you are trying to show about yourself from that brainstorm worksheet. So, some things that are important to my identity and who I am would be photography. It's what I got my master's degree in. Running. It's what I like to do in my free time. I also like to crochet. That's when it's kind of like knitting with a hook and yarn. I love flowers, everything about flowers. In fact, my middle name is Rose, so it's central to my identity. It's not just a thing that I kind of like. It's a thing that really matters to me and is really important to me. And I also like reading a lot. I think that it is relaxing and fun. So these things that are important to who I am are things that I need to work into my design. On your practice design, think about those letters and how you want to set them up. So you should be planning out how those letters could be made out of objects that resemble or are somewhat similar to these ideas. I have 6 letters. I have 5 things on my list. I could repeat one, or I could come up with a 6th thing that is important to my identity and who I am. Your identity is not the things you like. Your identity is not pizza and TikTok. Your identity is the things that really show who you are as a human being and are incredibly important to you. Once you have decided that, then you have to figure out how these letter shapes can be made from those things. What you're not doing is finding a letter shape. This is the common problem. And saying, oh, this thing is curvy. Maybe let's turn it into a snake because S's look like snakes. Done. If snakes don't matter to you or they're not important to your identity, don't put them in for your S's. We see these sort of things a lot. It's not the right approach. Instead, think about how you can make these different shapes be something that really matters. So I like to crochet. I could make this into a crochet hook, which looks something like this, and boom, there's an L. Or I could even try to turn this into a skein of yarn, which is essentially yarn wrapped up in a bundle so it doesn't get all tangled. If you work with yarn, you know how much of a problem that is. Here's my tail of yarn. So here I've got my yarn and my crochet hook to show that my favorite thing to do is crochet. And I got 2 letters done with that same topic, but I'm still going to find ways to involve the others. So what might that end up looking like in the end? So here's a very close-up version that's already finished. You can see I decided to add an M, R, and S. So here I have taken my books and turned them into an S shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. Books wouldn't normally be a curvy shape, but if you add them up, it will work. And I also added in just some things to show where books can take you, the things that you can imagine. My R, I did paint roller. I like working on projects around my house. And for an M, I decided myself shaking hands with my German Shepherd. For my G, you can see I spent a lot of time with my colored pencils here, developing different varieties of green to show depth on my gigantic letter G, which is a lily. Not only do I like to grow these flowers, but they also, again, matter to me. My family has a lot of gardening and names that go after flowers. My 2 lowercase i's are both sneakers with sort of like rocks flowing off them. When you're running, you kick up some dust. My 2 L's, I really developed my crochet hook and my skein of yarn. Again, I used my colored pencils, some darker areas and some lighter areas, to give a sense of depth. So this is not just scribble scrabble. You want to really put some effort and some thought into this. And finally, with my S, I drew my camera and the strap that comes off it to give me that full S shape. So I was able to fit in all of those hobbies and a little more because I stuck in my MRS at the beginning. Now, this piece would not be finished It's got a white background. I need to figure out how I can add in a background that is either just a design that doesn't distract from my letters or tells more about my personality. So I haven't worked in growing up in Alaska. That's something I could include. A place that's important to me could be my background. I could draw that as a map. I could draw that as a landscape. I could also just do a pattern that symbolizes something important about who I am. But those are some of the tips and tricks I would advise you to consider when moving forward on your identity project.